Welcome students to our new YouTube channel Pharmatech, the division of excellence. So this is Sunday blockbuster series. So every Sunday will be special for pharmacy student. So in today's Sunday blockbuster series, we start with the new chapter from pharmacology in this Sunday, which is drugs for gastrointestinal tract disorders. So let's start to this topic, drugs for gastrointestinal tract disorders. So in that the first one is drugs for peptic ulcer, and in that the first category is the reduction of gastric acid secretion, and the classifications are first H2 antihistamines, and the examples are cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, roxatidine and loxatidine. And the second class is proton pump inhibitors, and the examples are omeprazole, lansoprazole, pantoprazole, rabeprazole and esomeprazole. And the third class is muscarinic receptor antagonists, and the examples are pyrazapine, propanthalin and oxyphenonium. And the fourth class is prostaglandin analogues, and the examples are misoprostol and inprostil. So the second class is gastric acid neutralizing agents, and examples of gastric acid neutralizing agents are sodium bicarbonate, sodium citrate, magnesium hydroxide, aluminum hydroxide and calcium carbonate. Third is cytoprotective drugs, and the examples of cytoprotective drugs are sucralfate, colloidal bismuth subcitrate. So the next class is ulcer healing agents, and the examples is carbendazolone sodium. And the last class is anti-helicobacter pylori drugs, and the examples are amoxicillin, clarithromycin, metronidazole and tetracyclines. So next we see the H2 blockers. In that the first one is mode of action of H2 blockers. These competitively block the H2 receptor on parietal cells, and it suppresses the secretory responses to food stimulation and nocturnal secretion of gastric acid via their ability to decrease indirectly the activity of the proton pump. And H2 blockers also partially antagonize the hydrochloric acid secretion caused by vagal stimulation or by gastrin. Then next we see the uses of H2 blockers in acid peptic diseases, that means overall less effective than proton pump inhibitors, and also in gastroesophageal reflux dystrophy, also known as GERD, gastroesophageal reflux dystrophy. And the last use is in Zollinger-Ellison syndrome. Then next we see the adverse effects of H2 blockers are gastrointestinal distress, dizziness, somnolence, slurred pitch and delirium possible in elderly. And cimetidine has anti-androgenic activity. It results in gynecomastia, loss of libido, impotence and reversible oligozoospermia. And also cimetidine is a major inhibitor of P450 isoforms, and the drug interaction via inhibits the metabolism of drugs of O drugs. It effects of quinidine, phenytoin, tricyclic antidepressants and warfarin. So next we see the proton pump inhibitors, and the mode of action of proton pump inhibitors are they are active metabolites of proton pump inhibitors bind with H plus K plus minus ATPase port, which is located on the parietal cells, and it directly inhibits the H plus ion secretion. and the omeprazole is inactivated at neutral pH and activated in pH less than 5, and esomeprazole enantiomer of omeprazole. So next is the uses of proton pump inhibitors. They are more effective than H2 blockers in peptic ulcer diseases, that means PUD, and they are also effective in GERD, gastroesophageal reflux dystrophy. So they are also used in gastroesophageal reflux dystrophy and also in Zollinger-Ellison syndrome. So next we see the prostaglandin analogs, and the mode of action of prostaglandin analogs are these agents like prostaglandin E2 and prostaglandins I2 serve cytoprotective action via increases the mucus and bicarbonate secretion and through the CAMP. So the decrease in CAMP also decrease in acid secretion also. So next we see the antacids, and the mechanism of action of antacids are the gastric antacids chemically neutralize the stomach acid and also it increases the gastric acid pH. So next we see the various antacids and their adverse effects. So the first antacid used is sodium bicarbonate, and the adverse effect of sodium bicarbonate is it absorbed systematically, except to this other are non-systemic, and alkalosis in renal insufficiency, acid rebound, belching, gas risk in hypertension are the adverse effects of sodium bicarbonate. So the next antacid is magnesium hydroxide, and the adverse effect of magnesium hydroxide is hypermagnesemia plus loss of deep tendon reflexes and respiratory paralysis. So the next antacid is aluminium hydroxide, and the adverse effects of aluminium hydroxide is constipation, hypophosphatemia and osteomalgia. So osteomalgia is the adverse effect of aluminium hydroxide. So the next antacid is calcium carbonate, and the adverse effects of calcium carbonate antacid is hypercalcemia, hypercalciuria, alkalosis and kidney stone and also acid rebound. Then the next is sucralfate. The sucralfate, it is a complex of aluminium hydroxide and sulfated sucrose. Sucralfate polymerizes at pH less than 4 by cross-linking and it also forms complex gel of sucralfate which facilitates its binding with normal and necrotic mucosa cells and make a physical barrier that impairs the diffusion of hydrochloric acid and prevents the degradation of mucus by pepsin and acid. So next see the interactions of sucralfate. The sucralfate absorb many drugs and retard their absorption, and the examples are tetracyclines, fluoroquinolones, cimetidine and digitoxin, and the concurrently administered antacids reduce the efficacy of sucralfate. Then next we see the colloidal bismuth subcitrate. At the pH less than 5, the colloidal bismuth precipitate on gastric epithelium. It makes the physical barrier that impairs the diffusion of hydrochloric acid and prevents the degradation of mucus by pepsin and acid. And it also increases the bicarbonate and mucus secretion and detach the Helicobacter pylori from gastric mucosa. So next we see the adverse effects like diarrhea, headache and dizziness. The osteodystrophy and encephalopathy due to bismuth toxicity is prolonged use. And the next adverse effect is blackening of tongue and dentures and stools. So here we will see the emetics and antiemetics. So let's start to this emetics and antiemetics from drugs for gastrointestinal tract disorders. So the emetics and antiemetics, they are the nausea and vomiting are protective reflexes that serve to rid the stomach and intestine of toxic substances and prevent their further ingestion. The process coordinated by a central emesis center in the lateral reticular formation of the mid brainstem adjacent to both the chemoreceptor for trigger zone, that means CTZ, in the area postrema AP at the bottom of the fourth ventricle is outside the blood brain barrier, and the solitary tract nucleus, that means STN, of the vagus nerve. The chemoreceptor trigger zone has high concentrations of receptors for serotonin 5-HT3 and dopamine D2 and opioids, while the solitary tract nucleus is rich in receptors for enkephalin, histamine and anticholinergics, that means ACH, and also contains 5-HT3 receptors. So next we see the classification of antiemetics. In that we see the drugs and also their mode of action and also their adverse effect and their use. So the first drug is hyoscine, and the mode of action of hyoscine is it centrally as well as muscarinic receptor antagonists. So hyoscine is centrally as well as muscarinic receptor antagonist. It is its mode of action, and the adverse effect of hyoscine is anticholinergic effects, and the use of hyoscine is in motion sickness. So the second drug is metoclopramide, is also known as prokinetic drugs, and the mode of action of metoclopramide is it is centrally acting dopamine D2 receptor antagonist, 5-HT3 receptor antagonism, 5-H4 receptor antagonism, and it also increases the gastrointestinal motility and transit of material in the gastrointestinal tract. And the adverse effect of metoclopramide is diaphoresis, extrapyramidal effects should be avoided in lactating mother, and the uses of metoclopramide is in cytotoxic drug induced emesis, and it should not be used in levodopa induced vomiting. So the next drug is domperidone, and the mode of action of domperidone is in peripheral acting dopamine D2 receptor antagonist, and the adverse effect of domperidone is dry mouth, loose stool and galactorrhea. And the uses of domperidone is it is used in levodopa induced vomiting. And the next drug is cisapride, and the mode of action of cisapride is it is prokinetic drug with 5-HT3 receptor antagonistic activity, and the adverse effect of cisapride is none. So and the uses of cisapride, it is used in Torsades de Pointes, severe ventricular arrhythmia. And the next drug is chlorpromazine. So the mode of action of chlorpromazine is dopamine D2 receptor antagonist. So and the adverse effect of chlorpromazine is extrapyramidal effects, muscle dystonia, and the uses of chlorpromazine is drug induced and post-anesthetic drug induced and post-anesthetic nausea and vomiting and diseases induced vomiting. And the chlorpromazine, it is not effective in morning sickness but used in hyperemesis gravidarum. And the next drug is droperidol, and its mode of action is same as chlorpromazine. And so the next drug is promethazine, and the mode of action of promethazine is histamine H1 receptor antagonist, and also it is centrally M1 receptor blocker, and its use is cytotoxic drug induced emesis. So the next drug is cyclizine, and its mode of action is histamine H1 receptor antagonist, and its use is in vestibular motion sickness. And the next drug is cinerizine, and the uses of cinerizine is in anti-vertigo. So the next drug is meclizine, and its use is in seasickness. And the next drug in antiemetic is ondansetron, dolasetron, ganisetron, palonsetron, and ramosetron. And the mode of action of these drugs, they are 5-HT3 receptor antagonists, and the adverse effect is headache, and the uses of these drugs are in cytotoxic drug induced emesis. And also the next drug is betamethasone, and the use of betamethasone is as it adjuvant in cytotoxic drug induced emesis. So the last drug is dronabinol. So the dronabinol's mode of action is it cannabinoids receptor agonist, and its adverse effect is hallucination, and the use of dronabinol is in cytotoxic drug induced emesis. And the prokinetic agents enhance coordinated gastrointestinal motility and transit of material in the gastrointestinal tract. So next we see the common genital tract infections and their treatments. So in that first we see the diseases and their causative agents and their antimicrobial agents. So the first disease is urethral discharges, gonorrhea and non-specific urethritis. And the causative agents for these urethral discharges are Neisseria gonorrhea, chlamydia, plasma or mycoplasma spp. And the antimicrobial agents are cefixime, ceftriaxone, tetracyclines, that means azithromycin. So the next disease is vaginal discharges, thrush, trichomoniasis and non-specified vaginosis. And the causative agents are Candida albicans, Trichomonas vaginalis and Gardnerella vaginalis and Mobiluncus spp. And the antimicrobial agents for vaginal discharges are nystatin, in that clotrimazole and metronidazole. So the next disease is genital sores, and the causative agent are syphilis, causative agent is Treponema pallidum, and the antimicrobial agents penicillin, doxycycline. So next disease is chancroid, and the causative agent is Haemophilus ducreal, and the antimicrobial agent is cotrimoxazole, and the next disease is lymphogranuloma venereum, and the causative agent is chlamydia, and the antimicrobial agents are erythromycin in the tetracyclines and tetracyclines erythromycin, and the last disease is herpes, and the causative agent for herpes is herpes simplex virus, and the antimicrobial agents is acyclovir. So in that way we see the emetics and antiemetics and their classification of emetics and antiemetics, and also the common genital tract infections and their treatments. So note that the prokinetic agents enhances the coordinated gastrointestinal motility and transit of material in the gastrointestinal tract. So in this way we have to see the whole classification of gastrointestinal drugs. So in gastrointestinal drugs, the first one is drugs for peptic ulcer. In that, the gastric cells responsible for secretion of hydrochloric acid are parietal cells. And the second one is gastric cells responsible for secretion of pepsinogen are chip cells. And third one is enzymes involved in secretion of H plus ions are H plus K plus ATPase. And the fourth one is the gland responsible for alkaline duodenal exocrine secretion is Branner's glands in first and second part of duodenum. And the fifth one is gastric acid secretion is maximum with protein diet, that means GASP. And the next one is most potent stimulant for gastric acid secretion is gastrin. And the next one is the state of secretion of gastric acid in chronic duodenal ulcer is hypersecretion of acid. And the next is infective organism which can cause chronic duodenal ulcer is Helicobacter pylori. So most important for GPAT examination, this agent Helicobacter pylori from gastrointestinal drugs. And the next is most common cause of upper gastrointestinal bleed is peptic ulcer, and the most common complication of gastric ulcer is hemorrhage, and the most common cause of death in peptic ulcer is also hemorrhage. And the mucoprotective prostaglandins is prostaglandins E2 and prostaglandins I2. So next we see the whole classification of drugs used in peptic ulcer. The first is neutralization of gastric acid, that they are antacids. First one is systemic, the examples is sodium bicarbonate, and the second one is non-systemic, and the examples are magnesium hydroxide, magnesium carbonate, magnesium trisilicate, aluminium hydroxide and calcium carbonate. And the second one is reduction of gastric acid secretion, that first one is H2 blockers, and the examples are cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, nizatidine, roxatidine and loxatidine. And the second one is anticholinergics, and the examples are pyrenzepine, trimipramine and doxepine. And the third one is proton pump inhibitors, and the examples are omeprazole, lansoprazole, pantoprazole, esomeprazole. So all the prazoles are proton pump inhibitors. So the next one is prostaglandin analogs, and the examples are misoprostol, inprostil and rioprostil. So the next one is ulcer protectives, and the examples are sucralfate and colloidal bismuth subcitrate. And the next one is ulcer healing drugs, they are carbenoxolone. So the ulcer healing drugs are carbenoxolone. So next we see the anti-Helicobacter pylori drugs. They are metronidazole, tinidazole, amoxicillin, clarithromycin and tetracycline. So next we see the antacids. The antacid which causes purgation is magnesium salts, and the antacids which cause constipation is aluminum hydroxide, that means ACAR condition, and the third is antacid causing hypophosphatemia and osteomalcia is aluminum hydroxide. So, and the next is antacid commonly associated with rebound hyperacidity is calcium carbonate. Then next we see the H2 blockers. The all phases of gastric acid secretion inhibited 60 to 70% of inhibition in 24 hours, and the H2 blockers which has anti-adrenogenic action is cimetidine, and the H2 blocker which causes painful gynecomastia is cimetidine, and the most potent H2 blocker available is famotidine. It 8 times more potent than ranitidine. So the famotidine is 8 times more potent than ranitidine. Most important for GPAT. Then next one is usual duration of treatment in duodenal ulcer is 6 weeks. So the 6 weeks treatment of in duodenal ulcer is the duration in this period. So next we see the drugs with anti-adrenogenic, that means anti-androgenic action, and the drugs with anti-androgenic action are cyproterone acetate, flutamide, that means they are non-steroidal drugs having anti-androgenic property, and finasteride, and the H2 blockers like cimetidine and ketoconazole and spironolactone. So the next we see the pyrazapine. It is anticholinergic drug used in the treatment of peptic ulcer, and the pyrazapines are the receptors selectively blocked by pyrazapine M1 receptor, and the 40 to 50% acid secretion inhibition in 24 hours in pyrazapine. So next we see the omeprazole. The omeprazole is a proton pump inhibitor used in peptic ulcers, and it is the best drug available for the treatment of peptic ulcer, and it is the enzyme inhibited is H plus K plus ATPase, and it is omeprazole is a drug of choice in Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, that means omeprazoles. So the most important question for GPAT is the drug of choice in Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, and the right answer is omeprazole, which is the drug of choice in Zollinger-Ellison syndrome. Most important. So the next one is carbenoxolone, and the carbenoxolone is the ulcer healing drugs used in peptic ulcers, and they are derivatives of licorice, and it also anti-ulcer drugs which increases the mucus production are carbenoxolones and prostaglandin analogues, and the main adverse effects of carbenoxolone is hypokalemia, mineral corticoid action. So the adverse effect of carbenoxolone is hypokalemia. Most important for GPAT. The adverse effect is also asked in GPAT. So the next one is anti-ulcer drug. So this carbenoxolone is anti-ulcer drug contraindicated in hypertension, congestive heart failure, hepatic and renal diseases. The carbenoxolone is contraindicated in this hypertension, congestive heart failure and hepatic and renal diseases. So the last we see the drugs causing hypokalemia. They are antibiotics like amphotericin, carbamazepine and gentamicin. So this amphotericin, carbamazepine and gentamicin are the drugs, that means antibiotics causing hypokalemia, and the next drugs causing hypokalemia are anti-ulcer drugs like carbenoxolone, and the third one is corticosteroids, and the last drugs causing hypokalemia are diuretics. So in this way we completed whole chapter drugs used for gastrointestinal disorders. So hope you like this chapter. If you like this chapter, comment on comment section, and please, this is most important for GPAT, the gastrointestinal diseases. That means the drugs used for gastrointestinal disorders. So please share this video more and more to your GPAT aspirants as well as CET aspirants. And also please like, share and subscribe to our channel for more updates, and please stay updated with our channel, and please stay connected with our channel Pharma X-Tech. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Welcome students to our new YouTube channel Pharma Tech, the division of excellence. So this is Sunday blockbuster series. So every Sunday will be special for pharmacy student. So in today's Sunday blockbuster series, we start with the new chapter from pharmacology. In this Sunday